How about now?
The shadows played in the valleys of the old woman's pitted, wrinkled face, a harsh contrast against the setting sunlight reflected off her pale skin. The children were gathered around her on the floor listening to Meemaw's stories. Telling stories, Meemaw found, had a way of keeping her nearly century-old mind sharp. 99 years had borne to her at least as many tales, and she would pass them on to anyone willing to listen. Family gatherings gave Meemaw the perfect opportunity to exercise her storytelling skills. She would tell stories about her New Year's Day birth at the dawn of the 20th century, growing up during the Great War, raising children during the Great Depression, and losing Papa in World War II. Family stories, her favorite stories to tell, were the ones about her adventures after her children were grown up and moved out. She traveled all over the world, spending just enough time to fall in love with a place, then move on. Meemaw truly did have a story for every occasion, but this New Year's Eve she had a special story, one that she hadn't told before. Though it was among the eldest of her memories. After all, she was turning 100 years old today. When I was very young and on vacation here at this very lake house, I met a boy named Elion. The screen just went black.
Turn the screensaver off.
Fuck you. No more than 13 years old. Elion lived a ways around the lake in a home set back in the woods with his grandmother. I never met her or even saw her, but the boy spoke quite fondly of her. Elion had quite a vivid imagination too, coming up with the best stories I'd ever heard. He spoke in a most peculiar manner and with astonishing vocabulary. I just knew he must be some sort of genius or something. As he would say things, I, as a well-read girl of 15, had trouble understanding. Nonetheless, we spent every day together that summer, playing on the beach, running in the woods, telling stories, and having adventures. Each morning, from the time I was excused from breakfast until Mother would call me in for supper, we were stuck together like two peas in a pod. Over our summer together, we became very close, as spending that much time with someone is prone to do. Right up to the last day of summer, we dreaded the day that would separate us. I woke up in the morning of my last day at the lake and rushed through packing my things, preparing to leave, and ran off without my breakfast, just so I could spend as much time with him as possible. I charged through the door to go to find... interesting. I charged through the door to find ominous rain clouds rolling in, and my friend sitting on the steps to the porch, the closest he had ever come to the house all summer long. I joined him on the lowest step. And we watched as the storm moved across the lake, drenching everything with rain and illuminating the sky with its lightning. We sat in silence for a few moments before he took my hand and told me he had a secret to share with me, as long as I promised not to tell anyone. Confused and excited as to what he had so desperately to hide, I leaned in close so I wouldn't miss anything he had to say. Hold on. Where's the
fireplace? The fire thing.
Move the mouse.
Thank you. Lillian, he began, I have to tell you this because you're special. You have a trusting way about you. I know you'll retain my secret until the time is right, when you can pass my story on. Lillian then explained to me that he had a special gift given to him long ago, and that he wanted to share a portion of it with me. He told me he was an anachronist, and that he had the ability to alter his own time, to reverse his age, effectively giving him unending life. If time moves like a stream, he was like a salmon, able to swim upstream when the time was right. Alien had lived countless lifetimes, trying to decipher the meaning of his life, and why it was so far removed from the lives of everyone around him. He had trouble relating to the world near him, since he had found his gift, and it took him lifetimes to understand the intricacies of his ability. He had unbelievable adventures and countless families. He had fathered numerous children and had the pleasure and horror of watching them live their lives, grow old, and die. We spent the morning talking about his experiences, plans for the future, and where life would take us. When my mother called me to go home, I began to cry, knowing I'd never see this amazing boy again. I turned to go slowly when he pulled my hand back, turning me around to face him. He leaned in and planted his soft lips on mine. Alien gave me my first kiss ever. That sounds horrible coming from me.
Joey, you already told us you were a girl.
Now I think it's time for supper. Go get washed up and I'll finish my story on a full tummy, Mima insisted. It was a late dinner, as was usual for the family's New Year's celebration, after which everyone would go out back on the porch and enjoy the fireworks over the lake. After dinner, they wheeled Mima to the edge of the porch, where the children gathered on blankets and in lawn chairs to listen to Mima tell her story until the fireworks at midnight. My heart in pieces, I was silent all the way back to the city. Mother and father tried to cheer me up with no luck. We even stopped to get ice cream, my favorite treat. But even that couldn't turn my sour mood around. My feelings faded, and the mysterious boy that I had loved was replaced by another, and eventually Papa. Time passed, and I had beautiful children, and they gave me grandchildren. And then they gave me you beautiful babies. Mima's story was interrupted by squeals and murmurs from her audience. It had begun to rain, despite the cloudless day and forecast for clear skies. The clan filed quickly back into the house, bringing Mima to the doorway, where she asked to be left so she could watch the rain. The family gathered around the tiny television to watch a ball drop in Times Square. In the doorway at the back of the house, Mima pulled herself out of the chair and stepped carefully down to the bottom step to sit in the rain. As the lightning struck around her and the thunder rolled across the sky, an elderly man came stumbling up from around the lake and perched on the step next to her. The man took Mima's hand, gripping it tightly, as they sat watching the rain come down. "Lillian, I've come back for you," the old man's voice was gravelly and uneven. "It's time to go. I need you now." Mima could feel her chest start to tighten. "I haven't finished my story yet, though," she wheezed, realizing these breaths were her final ones. "Won't you let me finish? It's a lovely story about a girl that found the love of her life when she was very young and didn't know it until her final moments. I know the story, Lillian. I wrote it. Now you must listen to what I have to say. When we met 85 years ago, I gave you a gift that comes with a price, a fee that I must exact tonight." The old man looked away. It was difficult when he had to take a life for his own sake, but even now, his wrinkles were beginning to smooth into his face. "You've lived a long, full life, and now your death will feed my journey." His balding head began to fill with younger, light brown hair. He groaned and sat up a bit straighter as his spine bowed from a lifetime of weight, even. The old man sitting next to Mima was quickly growing younger, the signs of aging fading away, revealing the boy that she had met at the lake house so many years ago. "Thank you, Lillian. Your love is my fountain of youth. Now rest, you deserve it," Lillian said, leaning in to give her a final kiss. Mima took her final breath as he released her hand and walked off into the trees. The fireworks erupted over the lake as the family counted down to the new year and began a chorus of happy birthday. Mima smiled a bit as the light faded from her eyes. That's it.
Yeah!